What's up guys, it's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I'm doing a review of the surreal, violent, very gruesome 1995 critical acclaim hit, and this is Se7en, starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Be sure to check this out. So as presented on this excellent cover, I really just love the way they used to go it already creates the atmosphere for the film you're gonna watch, just seeing the cover with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman embodied by the darkness of the film. And even in the middle it shows what this film is about, is the 7 deadly sins, which are gluttony, greed, sloth, envy, which Richie Rich knows all about, wrath, pride, and lastly lust. So to a lot of people, this feels like a kind of spiritual successor to the Silence of the Lambs film, which dealt with a very psychological, gruesome character in Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins. That's a film that I've definitely wanted to review, but just the subject matter of watching that film completely, I used to watch it when I was way too young, to be watching it, and it's a very, very dark kind of twisted film, so sometimes I've kind of steered clear away to possibly review it, but hopefully down the line I'll be able to become review the films. But if anyone has seen the Silence of the Lambs film, a lot of that kind of darkness, I talk about darkness, the purity of evil exists in this film, Se7en. Before I get on to the excellent narrative of this film, I think it's very important to talk about the two leading actors in this, Mr. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. But let's start off with the universal pretty boy, with Brad Pitt. I'm one of the few people who jumped on Brad Pitt, the Brad Pitt train later, I was never really the biggest fan of Brad Pitt, and specifically I thought he was at one point he was more praised for the way he looked aesthetically than his acting chops, because because when I really started to get into film and that, I've always been a big fan to this day. Johnny Depp's my favorite actor. I think he's probably one of the greatest character actors, alongside Daniel Day-Lewis, and a few others. He's always representative of what an actor is, and I love what I've always loved with Johnny Depp is aesthetically he's always looked perfection or perfection, but he would take roles that a lot of actors would never take, like a George Clooney could never be like a Edward Scissorhand, or Tom Cruise could never be a Captain Jack Sparrow, and Johnny Depp always finds a way to pull it off. What I always thought with Brad Pitt is he always played just the normal kind of characters, you could even say in this, him in Spy Game, Interview with a Vampire, Legends of the Fall, and also Meet Joe Black, different characters, for the different films, but it's pretty much just an extension of Brad Pitt. He doesn't really have to tweak the accent too much. It's just Brad Pitt in a film, so I never found him that interesting as an actor, the complete actor who could really transform themselves into roles, like a Johnny Depp, Daniel Day-Lewis, even Jack Nicholson, back in the day, going into these roles and just transform himself, he could be unrecognizable, but that's for character actors. But there's two films that really won me over with Brad Pitt, and it was from the same director who we'll even talk about later, David Fincher, who made this and my other beloved film from Brad Pitt, which was Fight Club, which was in '99, starring, you know, Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, and also Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah, why I mentioned them two films, and I'll talk more deep about like why I think like, you know, Se7en right here and also Fight Club are, you know, Brad Pitt's possibly two best films ever. You know, I love the way how Pitt kind of takes into these you know, the subject matter is both dark within this and Fight Club. You know, it deals a lot with like psychological like battles, you know, and you know, from this to Fight Club, you know, like in like if you can see the same like Brad Pitt playing this the thing, it really shows how like talented he is, you know, because like in here he's playing a detective, homicide detective alongside Morgan Freeman, and he's there to kind of be like the everyman, you know. He has his job, he has his wife, he has his dog, you know what I mean, and like, you know, later on, you know, he's trying to get the family, so he's the average like United States of American like citizen, you know what I mean? Like that's like what life is in that kind of like mid-20s to mid like, you know, 30s kind of period, you know. So for him to be like in this, you know, then to kind of see him what he becomes like in, you know, Fight Club, you know, just some, you know, disturbed kind of like anarchist, you know, is really tremendous. Like from like moving on to Brad Pitt, we have everybody's favorite actor and like probably one of the best narrators since Oz James Jones, you know, he did like the voice of Darth Vader, you know, is you know, Morgan Freeman, you know. With Morgan Freeman, I believe I first saw him, it wasn't Driving Miss Daisy, which was in '89. I believe it definitely was. It was either Glory or it was Shawshank Redemption, you know. And what I love with Morgan Freeman is he's like if you can probably put the term like a bankable, like a star, you know. I don't think you can ever get like a sour, you know, bad picture as long as you got Morgan Freeman on the picture. He's a big you know, title in Hollywood, you know. Any type of film you put Morgan Freeman in it's always meant for like, you know, nationwide like success, you know, like as I mentioned with Shawshank Redemption, you know, and the later films he made in the 2000, you know. And I love the way how he plays you know, the homicide detective opposed to Brad Pitt, you know. It feels like the way he plays him, like he's more got seniority, you know. He's there to kind of like guide you know, Brad Pitt's character into this kind of world of like, you know, what this you know, perpetrator trying to catch is like likely to do, you know. He's able to kind of analyze his motives, you know. If you see like Morgan Freeman's character in this, he's always like taking notes, he's always thinking on the move like of what this kind of like mystery killer's gonna do next, you know. Whereas like Brad Pitt's character, he's always kind of more gung-ho, like, you know, let's just go get him, let's just go get him, you know, just like, you know, running before he can walk, you know, just that kind of like that youth kind of mentality. Where Morgan Freeman, who has more years on him, he's more kind of like, you know, we just need to, you know, take our time, you know. This mystery killer is been one step ahead of us, you know, so we just gotta take our time, take steps in order to capture this perpetrator. So like, you know, going on to the plot, you know, so what it deals with is, as I said on the back here, it's like it's kind of like a series of like horrific murders that there's like a, yeah, basically like a killer that's basically on the loose, you know. And he commits these like vicious you know, murders on like people he believes has sinned, you know, and they're able to walk freely knowing that no one knows what they kind of do in their you know, their lifestyle, you know. So with that, this like killer takes it upon himself to just commit these attacks, like breaking into their house, you know, probably catching them off guard like when they're leaving in the house, you know. And he execute them, and every execution he does, he writes the 7 sins. Like one of the ones he puts like the blood of like sloth just above the corpse, you know what I mean. So you're dealing with a complete like utter lunatic. And yeah, you know, like the film really delves in because I forgot to mention the supporting actors as well, like Gwyneth Paltrow, you know, beautiful, like blonde, like the American, like girl next door. She plays Brad Pitt's wife. I think it was a fiance in this. And funny enough, I believe they were dating at the same time. You know what I mean? And you can kind of see how they are in this film. Like you could actually believe like they match. Like Brad Pitt being like the blonde, blue-eyed, heartthrob, and Gwyneth Paltrow being like the blonde, blue, the blonde hair, blue eyes, girl next door look. They match perfect. You can see their chemistry with just chemistry on screen, especially like as well when Morgan Freeman's character is invited to their house for dinner. You can kind of see like this is some couple that can definitely go on to lead to have a family. Yeah, like besides Gwyneth Paltrow, you had also Richard Roundtree, who was the district attorney. You know, of like the whole kind of thing. He was the one like because this matter became because of the nature and how grotesque it became. It had to be alert to the the main people like in charge in NYC. And also as well R. Lee Emmy also appeared in like Full Metal Jacket, Mississippi Burning. He also appeared in Life as the older version of the one who tried to like frame Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, Ray and Claude. He's the one that they have that kind of showdown in the woods. He's in this as like the police captain. Like what I really love with this film. For someone who's like a real big fan of DC Comics, greatest superhero, Batman. Sorry, Clark. I really love the detective work that goes into this. The big reveal that I'm gonna come into, later on. Like who we find out who the actual killer is. It's all great. Like as big as that reveal is at the end of who he is, the clues that lead up to it, and like the investigation, them meeting like a guy in the diner just to get another kind of like, anything that can just aid them to finding, who this killer is and like when he can attack again. It deals throughout the film from the moment we're in the beginning. You see Morgan Freeman, with a flashlight, and he's checking one of the crime scenes. It's just done in such a nice pace that when you actually leads on to so yeah, they come to the apartment, unannounced, and Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are there and they're scoping it, saying, okay, yeah, this is where John Doe should be. In the distance, because this is like in the them big like apartments and that, so this had to be like on the 13th or 15th floor. In the distance there's a shady like character wearing like a black kind of hat like that, black trench coat, and you see him at all from a distance. He turns fire on like Pitt and Freeman, and there's a cool like I said, the scene goes from like Pitt that big scene when like David Mills, which is Brad Pitt's character, they find John Doe, and it's just a great chasing screen. And what I love is the way the camera like follows like and with the way the camera follows this chase scene, it's so dramatic and so intense that like it feels like David Mills playing Brad Pitt playing David Mills. He's like in danger trying to chase John Doe, but he's still going anyway. It's just showing the bravery of David, bravery, but also like just that brash kind of youth, what I mean. But he still goes into chase, and the camera's all within action when they're moving. It's like very turbulent, moving, seeing them like jump into like one flight of stairs into someone else's room. They see John Doe, and out the window he fires at him. All leads into a great scene like where it's like raining, like that Manhattan rain is raining, and like John Doe gets the upper hand, whacks him with a crane. He ends up like nearly taking David Mills out, with gunpoint, but he spares him and he quickly like flees to safety, and it was, I remember like seeing it the first time, it was just so gripping, you know, because like you're finally, because what the movie's so smart is like they that scene happens with like midway through the movie, you know, the film's about 2 hours long, so it's not like one of those situations like you kind of know the face of the killer, you know his like you know the background, and that, you know, the killer's very smart in this, you know. And so when they finally, you know, catch him in his apartment and they're just chasing him and it's still not revealed who he is completely amazing. Like you know, it was funny, you know, when I watched this back I didn't really see it, you know. So the most like second iconic scene, which is kind of like midway to the second and third act, is, you know, detective, you know, the David Mills and Morgan Freeman playing, I believe it was the Lieutenant William, you know, they're making their way back to the police station. I believe it's not too far like after the, you know, that epic chase scene, you know. When they come back to the police station, you know, so when they make it back to the police station, you know, like you know, David Mills has got all like the bruises after that altercation, you know, after chasing John Doe. You know, there's actually a message on the answering machine, you know. The police, one of the police like detective women tells like David Mills that like his wife tried to call, you know, but it was just on like you know, as a message, like his wife left a message, you know. And I will mention why this leads to what happens at the end, but like as you know, Lieutenant William and David Mills are walking into the police station, they're just about to go upstairs. Surprise, surprise, guess who comes in? Kevin Spacey, who, in the shockingness, and to be honest, I didn't know who Kevin Spacey was back then. You know, I saw him in films like, you know, LA Confidential and Usual Suspects, you know, but I really grown to like Kevin Spacey, you know, watching like American Beauty, you know, that's definitely one of my favorite Kevin Spacey films, you know. What's so sick is for an actor as big as him, he's not even advertised on the film. You know, it's not like there's no anywhere that says that Kevin Spacey's in this. Even when you watch the trailers, any other promotional posters, there's no sight of Kevin Spacey at all. So to the audience watching this for the first time who know who Kevin Spacey is, they're just like WTF, you know. His first appearance in this full visibility is he comes to the police station in like covered in blood, and he said, "I hear you're looking for me," you know, after shouting like detective, 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 like at the top of his lungs. Man, that scene still gives me chills, you know. Just imagine how, you know, the insanity meter must be off the chart, you know, for the killer just to walk in to the police station, you know, in daylight, you know, and full with a whole stock of police, men and women, and he just says, you know, "I'm here," you know. The reaction from like David Mills, you know, Brad Pitt's playing, you know, he's crazy. He's like, "Hey," you know, because he remembered, you know, he was chasing him, you know, and he nearly like took him out, you know. So it's crazy, you know. And once they, you know, you kind of, especially now watching this later on, you know, when they're in like the interrogation room and like, you know, Lieutenant William and what is it, you know, Mills is there, and like, you know, all, you know, district attorney, the police captain, they're all there. They're just seeing that like you know, there's something going on that's a bigger part of the plan. I don't think Brad Pitt's character Mills sees it too well. He's just like, this is just a complete freak, he needs to be locked and knee on the ground. But you can kind of see from the way how Morgan Freeman's expressions, you know, Lieutenant William, that there's something that's going on that we haven't discovered yet, you know. And, you know, this all leads to like what, you know, the film, even I'm even getting goosebumps talking about it, you know, the film has been like steady, you know, like, you know, clues leading on to like the killer finally gives himself him and they capture him. So to a lot of people they'll think like, oh, you know, the day has been saved, happy ever after, you know. It leads on to like this scene at the end where they go way out of the district of like the city into just this like, area. Kind of like scenes from like Breaking Bad, them canyon areas. You can even see the way the lighting is in it, which really expresses the moodiness of that red kind of yellow lighting. So early in the morning, they go out there, with, John Doe, who is now revealed as Kevin Spacey, William, Lieutenant William and David Mills. They go in into this dust, like, it's kind of like a prison setting, and they basically drive in there because, like, John Doe says he's got kind of like one part left of the puzzle, you know what I mean, which he planned way before, so it's really crazy, like, in the scene, because, like, Kevin Spacey's in the back seat, then Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are in the front of the vehicle, and Brad Pitt's just gunning him down, saying, like, you're a fruitcake, you're just a freak of the week, no one can care of him, but you can kind of see how Kevin Spacey, he's just so calm and well managed, and the way how he speaks, he's just so, like, he's not intimidated, you know what I mean? He knows what he does is, like, he believes what he's doing is for the benefit of humanity. These people sinned and they must serve severe consequences, and it doesn't relate well to, like, what Brad Pitt, and the whole time, as, like, Mills is just saying, like, expletive after, derogatory comments to John Doe. You can tell, just like Lieutenant William, he's just like thinking, he's constantly thinking, like, what is really going on, so once they actually, drop off, and they get to this kind of, like, this empty kind of, like, wasteland, this, like, canyon setting, they're there in the sunset. Like, Mills is, like, he puts John Doe in this kind of knee position, and David Mills has just got a gun, just got him at gunpoint, just if they're, he's suspected to do anything, and out of nowhere, this, like, van. So where they drove there, this, like, just unnamed van, they don't know who it is, a van comes out of nowhere, parks, and Morgan Freeman's character, he runs right to the van. He has, like, because there's a helicopter, the squad team's ready to roll in, the van comes in, and, like, one of the most epic scenes, like, guy who's driving the van says he has deliveries for, like, I believe it was either Mills or William, one of the two, and it was just a box. Put the box in the ground, and, like, he's Will is very chill, like, Lieutenant Williams, he doesn't know kind of, well, what's going on in that. He just says, like, he tells, like, the people, the feds and the ones in the helicopter that, okay, he's gonna open the box. And, like, once he opens the box, he uses a razor, he slices the tape, he opens it and just goes, oh, and again, for watching this for the first time, you are not gonna know what's going on. It's only revealed later on from the comments of John Doe that was Gwyneth Paltrow, Brad Pitt's girlfriend slash fiance in this. Her head had been taken off and put into the box. John Doe says it in just kind of, just this kind of gruesome, like, sinister way, like, he broke into the house when he wasn't there and tried to play husband, and meaning that he possibly tried to rape her, and he took her gift, saying her pretty head, and, one of the greatest quotes, like, because Brad Pitt's like, what did you just say? And, like, Lieutenant Williams running in is like, John Doe's got the upper hand. John Doe's got the upper hand, and he's running and the camera's like shaking, his fingers is coming in, just like expressing, like, the craziness of the situation. And then, like, Mills is just going like, what's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the flipping box? Then he goes, you liar, you're a liar. Then, like, when Morgan Freeman, playing Lieutenant William, admits that it is her, you can just see his gut just wrench. Point of this is, this was all part of John Doe's plan. If from that it would cause, Detective Mills to basically sin again, you know, so basically complete the whole everything in full circle, you know. He did this to his wife, he commit this sin. It's like he completes his purpose, you know. His whole thing was to see like how every man could fall into sin, you know. So it's like a game, you know. And even Morgan Freeman just says it, if you take out John Doe now, he would have won, you know. And it's really, this is what I really loved on Brad Pitt's acting, you know, when you could just see him just the lost, when it's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Then he tries to, you know, he's like contemplate, should he do this or not? But he, you know, you sometimes you just being, you know, just being a human and just being a man. Like, what was you doing in situations if, you know, the woman you love was just like slain, you know, by just a monster? You know, it's sometimes very difficult to hold into your sanity, you know. So I just, this impulsion, he just takes him out. He like shoots him in such a way that even if he had more bullets, he would have shot him again, you know. And you know, that's just the climactic scene that the movie builds up towards. And so man, Se7en. So yeah, as always, let me talk to you about the soundtrack in this movie. The soundtrack in this movie is not really like any major like notable music artists, you know. Yeah, you know, like some of the artists were like I believe one of the tracks from Marvin Gaye played in the soundtrack, the Stater Brothers and Howard Stone. You know, not two artists that like I think anyone's familiar with. You know, the music kind of ranges from like country, gospel, you know, a lot of like that kind of symphony orchestral music. You know, to just try to like relate it to like a lot of the music that's been, if anyone's played like the Silent Hill games, you know, especially like Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, PS1 and PS2, you know, that's kind of the music that's kind of used in this, you know, just that eerie, mysterious music. And you know, in the thriller like action sequences, you know, you got kind of like that turbulent uprising music and that, you know. I feel like once you've watched the film and you still got Se7en in your head, it would be ideal to listen to the soundtrack. Oh yes, Se7en, you know, with this film, I did you know, kind of thriller suspense film, but it gets to that stage of legendary status from the third act when Kevin Spacey drops in and he comes in saying like that kind of Edward Enigma thing, like I'm already like 12 steps ahead of you, you know, I plan to get in, you know, I plan to come in and get arrested on purpose, you know. I mean, this was all part of my plan, you know. So for that ending to commence, you know, and you know, it always kept you on the edge of your seat because you don't really know what's going on, you know, because you know, Gwyneth Paltrow's character is very minimal in this, you know. She's only shown a few scenes, you know, when they have dinner, and then like which I even forgot to mention, when she goes to you know, he meets Morgan Freeman's character in the diner and she says she's pregnant. You know, that's what really enraged you know, Brad Pitt playing Mills at the end to really take him down, because she was a couple months pregnant, you know. Her scenes are minimal, so when it like she actually finds out at the end that it was Brad Pitt's like goal all along, it's just like, whoa, you know. I don't think no one would have ever suspected, but it goes to the genius of how David Fincher did this, you know. And I'll talk specifically at David Fincher. He did something similar like to this, you know, like that kind of plot twist in Fight Club used to happen in the third act, saying that, you know, Brad Pitt was just Edward Norton's subconscious that he created because he just wanted to be free. It was the same kind of craziness I found like at the end, you know, with like the reveal of like, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow's character's head and severed in the box, you know, Kevin Spacey's reveal, you know what I mean. As I said about like the messages that you know, the policewoman, when Brad Pitt walks in the police station, the woman says like, oh, your wife called, you know, it possibly was the Gwyneth Paltrow was calling because like, you know, that's when Kevin Spacey came to the house and like he said, he tried to play husband. You know, so if you put just all these kind of like little trinkets of like information, it all adds up to the end. Who would I recommend this film? You know, it does kind of tie on to a lot of people with mental health. You know what I mean? It kind of flipped to the dark side. You know, I feel Fight Club did this as well. For like, mind can just be like psychologically. It could just alter from a sudden case of loss, you know. Yes, thanks again for watching another review from the 90s. Stay tuned because I'll show you more vids will be coming very, very soon. Peace, two fingers.